Well, once again, it's time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show. Yeehaw!
Yeehaw! Well, welcome to another edition of SFP Sports. And we have been working on going through the different positions for fantasy football. And last time we did running backs. I'll get a little more light here on us. We did running backs, and we're going to go back and do quarterbacks. Pardon me. We do different positions for our fantasy football league. Forgive me. Catching the throat there. That'd be all right. We covered the top 20 running backs or so. Me and Cowboy Cook. He couldn't be with us tonight. And I'm not with you much because my throat's a mess. But we'll endeavor to persevere, as they said in The Outlaw of Josie Wells. I love that movie. And I love that line. So we will endeavor to persevere, he says. Endeavor to persevere. So whether you play week to week, dynasty, redraft every year, different position groups, head to head like we do, and we do a keeper league so we can keep so many players, they will slightly change depending on how your league is set up. And once again, we do have a number of teams that we work with. We at one time, as we said the last time, we had quite a few teams, but we're down to 10. We're just doing one league, and it seems to work for us. And so we appreciate you listening in, and we hope and share with us how your how your league is ran and how you do your league. We have a salary cap. It's play money. It's not real. And we try to, we adhere to that salary cap for the draft purposes, which will be coming up. Pardon me. So we keep ours at $270. At one time, it was based on a tenth of that. So, originally it was $26. Then we went to 27 one year because we added a position. And then it just made it easier with some of the league, the way we're setting our league up to go to the 270. So we appreciate fantasy football people that love fantasy football. And I'll do my best to get this in without coughing all of you. So we have had go and look at the running backs. It's a critical part of the team. But the quarterback drives the team. It gets the most points. Typically, it could be a wide receiver. It could be a running back or even a defensive player that gets you most of your points. But typically, most weeks, quarterbacks get the most. They handle the ball more. In our league, we do a point for every yard gained, whether that's through the air or on the ground. And then there are bonuses for touchdowns thrown and things like that. So our quarterbacks are big point getters. Now, I would say in our league that we try to get at least 40 points with our quarterbacks. Anything above that, we figure is just a big bonus. So, you take a typical player, one of the better quarterbacks, let's say Lamar Jackson, whether he's done it through the air. Let's say he threw for 300 yards, and he got all those points. And then let's say he clipped in another, which is very doable for him. And then he clipped in another, we'll say 50, 60 yards on the ground. Then he throwed a couple of touchdowns and maybe ran one in. Then you can see how the points could accumulate pretty quickly. So this week, as we said, we want to look at the quarterbacks and kind of talk through that. And we'll talk about some of the quarterbacks we've had. I'm going to cover me up, so I've been coughing on you anyway. And hopefully Cowboy Cook will be back next time, maybe somebody else. But every Saturday night, we're going to have a sports show. And just right now, we're covering fantasy. Also on our morning news, we'll probably touch on some sports, maybe some of the goofier sides of sports, some of the things that go on that's kind of funny that happens, some of the highlights of that. We won't bore you with statistics in the morning. But, hey, we in the South, we're going to be rooting for the Braves or somebody like that. So we may give some sports scores, if we're on in the morning live, and we'll throw that out there. Hey, the Braves won, or here later, the Braves lost, or another player got hurt. But so anyway, ours is a head-to-head league, as I said last time. And, we have 3 rounds of playoffs, and then someone is crowned the Super Bowl champion. So the league has changed over the years. We talked about that last time. Tight ends are more in use, more receivers on the field, running backs still important, but not always emphasized. And the quarterbacks have become much more mobile. They're still the traditional drop back passers like Stafford. You think about somebody like that, but today's quarterback must be able to. He's the defense buster, because you got the different plays that are set up for the quarterback to hand off or go and end arounds and all those things that they do to kind of pull that, see what that defensive lineman's going to do, or that outside linebacker, see if they can get them to crash in and then just go right around them. So there's all kinds of plays designed like that. Of course, one of the best players on the board, Patrick Mahomes, he's a master at that, hiding the ball. He's not the fastest, but he's fast. He's fast enough. He's very smart. He's a magician, as they say. So without further ado, let's look at some of the quarterbacks. Now that I think I've got my throat somewhat straightened out. Apologize for that. And this ranking could be bounced around some. Now I worked on it. I took some rankings and sort of just grabbed the consensus or average of some of these, depending on the different metrics that I was looking at. And this is pretty close now. And I may move some of these up or down depending. And there's always a lot of depending, whether it could be injuries, it could be how the team does or whatever. These are all just projections anyway, as we think about what a team is going to do. We don't really know, although past performance speaks a lot to, how they may do. So in the CBS league, which we're at, they have Hurts ranked to number 1. I do not, but it is truth that Mahomes' numbers were down some. I think probably they're looking at some of the additions and stuff. They were high-octane offense. And, of course, you got Lamar Jackson there. I say you could take any of the top 3 here, maybe 4, but I'll leave it at 3. And you could flip a coin and put them at number 1. If I had my guess, I would say I would put him ahead of Hurts. Just because I feel like this is the year for them. I feel like they're going to go all the way. I feel like they're going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not a Baltimore fan, but I just think that they had one hiccup game last year and it cost them. Because you can never count Mahomes out. And then Philly is just right there, but I don't know what it is, but something about them, they don't really show up playoff time. And that's been Baltimore's gig as well. But so here's the top 20, and then I added some. I'll stop the scroll here later, and we'll look at some of the additional players that I put in there. All of these, or most of these, are really good quarterbacks. And so from a team standpoint, I mean, you could take and, you could win with them. So, but we're looking at fantasy. So we're looking at points and the ability to score. And as I look up and down the list, there's a lot. These are going to fluctuate. So this is not a final list, but it is something to go by as we look at quarterbacks and how they how they're ranked here as far as the 2024 projections. This would be a projections, not based on what they did last year, but projections for this year. And it's pretty tight at the top. Obviously, you've got several quarterbacks, probably down to about number 5, that are a little bit, maybe even throw Burrow in there. Might do a stretch and pull Lawrence, but after that, there are some players that could crack into that. But these are the players that are probably going to score the most, barring injury. So let's just go down the list and let's look at what we got here. So Patrick Mahomes, and I've had Patrick Mahomes for every year that he has been in the league. Now my contract with him ran out, and so he's back in the draft in our league. And I would certainly love to put him back on the team again. He's a, they have had their problems on offense after Tyreek Hill left, but they have assembled a lot of talent. And and it shows they didn't have their best game and they still won the whole thing. Patrick Mahomes generates points from many different things, and he can have an off quarter and not be doing much and then explode. So he's just got that ability. I saw it in him in college, and this is very, because of his ability. Some of them have him down at 3, and I can certainly see that with Hurts or Jackson or even Allen, possibly even AR. There's a lot that they could do there. But he's going to throw for a lot of yards. He's really going to throw for probably more yards than these other guys, but he doesn't get as much on the ground, not quite as much. So when you add in the rushing touchdowns, that's where they really close the gap and could eclipse him as a part of overall point possibilities. And I would certainly say that Hurts and Allen certainly do. Jackson is right there, and Richardson, his game is more run anyway. But I'm going to just stick with Mahomes right there because I think they've righted some of the wrongs that they have on offense, even though they've got some players that got in trouble in the offseason and everything. I still think they've got an amazing collection of young talent at receiver. Pacheco, we talked about last week, and just his stability at running back allows Mahomes to not rely so much on the throw. And sometimes they go down the field on the ground, and he'll clip in a few yards here and there. Pacheco will get his yards, and then that opens up for Mahomes to do his business. And, of course, hit Kelsey a couple of times and other receivers. Next thing you know, they're in the end zone. So he's going to score a lot of points. One service has him projected at 4,500 yards. I don't doubt that. That's one of the reasons I've got him there. So Patrick Mahomes, you can't go wrong with the top 3, 4 here for sure. So probably the most exciting. Mahomes is in many ways the most exciting because he throws from so many angles. He's unorthodox. He throws when he shouldn't, but it works. It's amazing. He doesn't seem to get flustered when things aren't going well. He gets mad, but he channels it and he finds a way. He wills his team to win. He's got that it factor. He has the it factor. He shows up in big games, and that has been the problem for really 3 of these guys here. And that's why, to me, he's ranked number 1. He has the it factor. Doesn't matter who you line up against him, the guy's going to produce. The moment doesn't get too big for him. So Patrick Mahomes, number 1. Now, Jackson, of course, with Baltimore, he's going to throw for a lot of yards. But also with him, you get quite a bit of rushing yards. He could have as many as 300 more than Mahomes. And probably the biggest difference is the potential for some touchdowns there, a little more than Mahomes. And that, of course, this is guesses, but he will get some. And, of course, now they've got Henry. So that may eat into that a little bit. So these 2 factors, I bring him back to number 2, but I think that Jackson is going to have a tremendous year. And it's the first game of the season for these 2 teams. Yes, they play each other. Wow. That's a Thursday night game, 8:20. You don't want to miss that. I'd love to have Patrick Mahomes back on my team and be sitting watching that. Jackson is not He's not available for the draft in our league, but I would love to see this. This game is going to be tremendous, and I can't wait to watch it. All right, Ertz at number 3. CBS has him number 1 slightly. It's very, very close, just under 4,000 yards, right at it really. Not as really close on the touchdown passes. He also gets a few hundred yards rushing, but where they really differentiate him is more touchdowns ran in. And it's possible. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think he'll have as many as what they're projecting, but they say 13. I don't see that. I really don't. Again, it's a guess, but I'll hold with it right here and say Hurts. But you give me any one of these players, and you're putting together a winning team. Now, Allen in Buffalo has certainly had his high moments, and he's had his low moments. He needs consistency, and he can do it all. He is a very fast runner. He's very elusive. He's tough. He's had some, times where he's fumbled, thrown the interception. This has been the biggest thing. Sometimes he seems as though he forces the ball, and he hurts his team, and he puts his team in a bad situation. So much so that I don't think it was ever, talked about very heavily, but there were people thought that they might look to trade him. I don't think that's going to happen. His talent's just too much. Maybe another year, but not this year. Hurts as well threw a lot of interceptions as well. They both can be a little bit of the gunslinger mentality, but they make up for it in a lot of other ways. But as far as wins and losses, that could be crucial, and that's hence why they don't have Super Bowl ring. They have to, and Mahomes has had games where he's done that, but typically he's been able to stay away from that somewhat, but slightly less. He still throws too many, but I can see Allen having a very big year. He's going to be knocking the door of 4,000 himself. He will get some rushing yards and touchdowns. He loves to run the ball in for a touchdown. He could have as many as some of the others. Really, it'll just really depend on what he is able to what they're able to do. Now they've got some good young talent at running back, but he likes to mix it up in there. He likes to get in there and go into the end zone. He likes to put the team on his back like that. Oh boy, I wish Cook was here because he's the Cowboy fan and he's been as critical of Prescott as anybody. And I think that he's another one that had a bad game. He had big games all year long, and I think it was the pressure, playoff pressure. Simply, it got Allen, it got him, and this guy can light it up. They've got a lot of weapons. They do have some changes over as far as running back and stuff, but they're going to have a really good team again. And you just think one year they're going to do it, but so far he hasn't. And there's a lot of fans that are really, they're blaming him for the loss, and I see that because of how he played. He didn't have his best game. And so we'll see. You still can't go wrong with him from fantasy-wise. He's going to get a lot of passing TDs, gets a lot of yards. He doesn't run as much, so you're not going to get the running touchdown or much yards. So that's why he's a little lower. And I'm good with him at number 5, although I think that Burrow could push him. And Burrow has that ability. And he's another one that's not going to run for any yards and get rushing touchdowns, but he has the ability to throw for a lot of yards too. So you could flip-flop Burrow at Cincinnati and Prescott at Dallas, and you would be okay. I don't see a problem there as long as health doesn't get in the way. I think that you could see, you could take either one of those, and you're going to be fine. Now, it starts to get a little tougher. And for various reasons. I really like Lawrence. Of course, he played at Clemson. He's had some big games. He'll throw for a lot of yards. His touchdowns have not been quite as much. Of course, they do get some on the ground. But he is also a guy that can take off and run. He's a big guy. He's fast. He can shove the guy off. And barring injury, he's going to be the guy that if he puts it all together this year, he could move up the list. In fact, if Allen don't watch out, somebody like Lawrence is going to replace him up a little higher up on the list. I think Allen's got a critical year ahead of him, and he's going to have to really put it together this year, I think. And Lawrence, if he continues his growth, he could move up this list. I really see that. The enigma on this list is the next one, number 8, Anthony Richardson, AR, they call him. This guy got hurt. He played way above what I thought he would coming out of college. Not that he didn't have the tools, but, he's just so green at passing. But his rushing is off the charts, but he's starting to put the throws together now too. Now, CBS has him throw. They have him ranked number 5. I thought that was a little high. But is the potential there for it? Yes. Is also the potential there to fall down the list? Yes. I have Anthony Richardson, and I will be hopeful that he has that kind of year. So he's another player, I think, if that team can keep him healthy and he can put it all together, I think he can move into the top 6, maybe 5, depending on how Allen and Prescott do. I don't think the top 3 are going to fall at all. But Allen and Prescott, maybe even Burrow, depending, that he could be one of the ones moving up. I could see, it's nobody knows. He could also bottom out here and fall outside the top 10 easily. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to continue to grow as a passer, and he will. He's going to be one that's fun to watch. He's a fun player to watch. He's amazingly gifted. His talent level may be on the same level of Jackson, but he doesn't have the throwing ability yet. And for both of those, they have to stay away from, the interception. But I'd love to hear from you what you think about AR. I think, AR is, as I said, he's an enigma. He has the ability to really explode or be kind of flat, or he could be a bust. I just think there's all the possibilities there. Bust may be a little strong. I don't mean bust like in he just gets benched, but I think for our purposes in fantasy, I think he could fall down to anywhere from 13th to 15th and possibly beyond. There's some good players sitting down there, and could take a tumble here and fall into the bottom part of the top 20. One to watch. He's not my starter, although he could be if I don't get Mahomes back, and I've got another player too. But this is going to be fun to watch. Probably frustrating at times too. So Anthony Richardson, Jared Goff, boy's really found himself, hasn't he, with Detroit? I mean, he just didn't seem like he's going to find. He's a big time passer, gets a lot of yards. He's another one that's not going to get you much on the ground. I mean, that's just not his game. He's a drop back guy. He can really sling it. And Detroit has a great team. I think that's a good spot for him there, although he could move in front of AR and Lawrence if they stumble at all, possibly even Burrow. Goff could move up, but this is a comfortable spot for me where he's at. He's top 10. He's going to get a lot of points, and I wouldn't have a bit of problem with him being on my team. He's going to throw 30 plus touchdowns and get over 4,000 yards passing. I'm not going to throw that away. Now here's another one, and honestly, this guy amazes me. He really does. He come out of nowhere. Brock Purdy for San Francisco. He's on a great team. There were times that he thought he was going to get benched. He just seems to keep coming back and getting it done. But he scares you. They got all those weapons, and there was a couple of games where he just didn't really seem to have it. He didn't have the best, game that he could have had in the playoffs. But this is another guy that can throw over 4,000 and over 30 touchdowns. or he also could fall a little bit. And I wouldn't bet. I don't bet, but if I wouldn't bet against him, but I wouldn't bet for him either. I think his perch there at number 10 is precarious, because I'll say the main reason why he's sitting at number 11. And I debated on flipping these. I went ahead and left it because I want room to move Stroud up, and this is going to happen. In fact, Purdy better watch out, because there's two they may move in tandem, and that is number 11 and 12. C.J. Stroud, and of course, Love with Green Bay. Both of those guys are coming on. Great young talent, and they are throwing the ball all over the place. Houston and Green Bay both have really good teams. I give Houston the slight edge. I like what they're doing down there. I don't even like their uniform colors. They look great. And they are building a powerhouse. In fact, I like to give Cowboy Cook a hard time, because Dallas, if they stumble, Houston's going to own that state for a while. And don't think Jerry don't notice that. They have put together an exciting young team of great talent on offense, a solid, really good, solid defensive team. And man, I like watching them. I like Houston. I really do. And I root for this kid. Of course, I'm a Georgia fan, and he played his heart out. This is a warrior, uber talented. That game could have went either way. We know that. He could have been a national champion. He is a national champion human being. Fine young man, good Christian young man, and he has a lot of talent. And Houston fans have got to be ecstatic to have this guy on their team. I know I would. So he's top 10. I just don't know which ones are going to fall, because I think there's two going to fall for sure. And Stroud and Love, I think, are going to move into the top 10 here. But we went ahead and left it because, again, I like to see that movement. And they are a little younger. And I think he's either going to move up or fall out. Purdy is the other one for sure. This will be fun to track as we look at this week by week as the season gets started. Just talked about Love. You didn't think he was going to put it together, but he did. And his skill level is on par with the rest of them. Now we get to some interesting things here. We got some rookie players. We got some returning players from injury that are still trying to put things together. And it's this group here deserves to be outside the top 10. But wow, what talent. What talent. I mean, when you look at Daniels out of LSU, can this guy put together a season like a Stroud or even one of the others? I don't know. I'll just say it. I don't know. I know people that hear that. Oh, man, how could you say that? He's got all this talent, but he did go to Washington. Good quarterbacks go to Washington to not do good. I think that hinders him. I don't see him getting the top 10 because of that. And could he make a run for it? Sure. I don't see it happening. I really, really don't. And I'd love to hear from somebody who's a fan, and that would be interesting to see. But yeah, I like him. I mean, he's another great young guy, solid young man, just like Stroud. And you have to you root for young men like that. And hey, I like the young man, I really do. And I'm not a Washington fan at all, but he could move up some, but I don't see him first year. Could even fall some. Murray, man, this guy's got a lot of talent, the baseball player, quarterback, I had him on my team once, and he got me a lot of good points. He wasn't my main starter, but he did a great job coming in and backing up. Got me a couple of wins when I needed him. That's probably a good spot for him, just because he has not put it all together really yet where he needs to have it. At times he has. He's another one that could be approaching 4,000 yards. Don't know that he'll quite make it or may even make the 30 touchdowns. But he's another player that's going to solid. He's going to put up some big games. He's also going to have some games where he doesn't do as well because the team doesn't do as well. And he's had games where he's disappeared. Hey, Bear here, Herbert. I'm thinking of the New Orleans player. Another guy that can put up a lot of yards. I mean, a lot of yards. This guy will be bumping close to 4,000 yards. He could get into that 30, 35 touchdown pass kind of guy. He's he'll surprise you with his legs a little bit, but he's not going to get a lot of points that way. He could be a mover here. Daniels and Murray. Don't see him getting any further out now. Maybe if they all move up and Purdy comes down, I could see him getting ahead of him if Purdy falters, and they are. So give him a couple, maybe 3 spots he could move up as the season progresses. Okay, now we get to another rookie, Williams at Chicago, just anointed the number 1 quarterback of all time, I guess, by some. I'm joking. He's got a lot of talent, right? I brought him down this list some. I really did. Because I don't think it's Chicago. I mean, I'm sorry, the Bears, not meaning to offend anybody. But, yes, they've brought in some talent, but I just don't think that they're quite ready. Not ready for prime time yet. He's going to put up a lot of yards. He's going to have to. And touchdowns probably down some. He's got some learning to do. Chicago's a tough place. They might play a little bit better than they have, but I have no ideas that they're going to play that well. So another player that could move up. He's also another player could move down. In fact, if Tua there at 17 can, if he can stay healthy and Miami can do good here, I could see them really getting going here in a great way. But he's had some problems health-wise as well. Can Miami put it together? That's a team that's got a lot of talent. This is he's solid, top 20, could be top 15, but he's got to move some people out of the way. He's got to play consistent. He's got the ability to put up a lot of points. I'm sure he'll go over 4,000, but they try to limit him because of the concussions and stuff. So he's not going to run as much. And if the game gets out of hand either way, they're pulling him to preserve him as they should. So that's going to eat into some of his abilities here. Wow. Let's look at just a few more here in the time we have left. Watson, what happened? Watson. I mean, at one time, this is the $250 million man, right? I mean, we know about all the court stuff. I'm not going to comment on that. I'm just looking at this purely from, and I know I talked about some others and the fine young men they were. I'm just not going to approach that. Those are horrible stories, a lot of payouts. And I just would say I hope the young man gets his life on track. It no doubt being away affected him. It just never came together. And honestly, Cleveland, they just seem to find ways to fall apart. You'd want to move him up from here, but with all that talent in front of him, that's probably a good spot. He's going to have to prove it. I wouldn't draft him real high myself. Does he have the talent? Sure he does. Don't think it's going to happen. Number 19, Cousins comes over to Atlanta from Minnesota. But, they got that quarterback sitting behind him too, that top rookie. But Cousins is the guy. We'll get in the training camp, see how things are going. He's the veteran. He'll put up some really good numbers. He always has. He could be also bumping around the 4,030 touchdown mark. And if he can do that, Atlanta will be happy. He's got to stay healthy. I would not be surprised to see his numbers get eaten into a little bit by sitting out a little bit here and there if the other quarterback's playing well. And it's, again, like Tua, if it's a blowout either way, they're probably going to protect the investment and bring him out, let the guy get some experience. So that will eat into some of the numbers here. Here's a guy, he can do it all, but then he has those games where he doesn't do it all. Mayfield can get to that 4,000-yard mark. He can do it. He doesn't run like he used to, and so he's not going to get you a lot of points there. Throws a lot of interceptions, as Watson has as well. Um, and Tua has been higher up that list as well. But Tampa Bay plays it's a perfect match for him. They don't need him to carry the load. He just needs to not blow it. He needs to stay away from the interception, the fumbles, and get those important first downs. He might need to use his legs just a little more. Sometimes he gets himself in trouble with the deep drops, and he tries to move around, and it doesn't work well. So he needs to play within his talent. He's got a lot. He's a tough guy. He's a warrior. A lot of people don't like him. He has a huge ego. He does. You got to have it to play quarterback. And so I think that, as far as fantasy points, I really wouldn't. I would take him on the team, but he's not a starter. All these now. Man, you could take Cousins as a starter, but I wouldn't take Mayfield as my number one starter for this. Number 21, Stafford, the old Georgia boy. Super Bowl champion. That's nice to say. He's getting some age on him now, but boy, he can still sling it, right? I like Stafford. Always have. Liked him in college. He's another gunslinger. Sometimes he gets himself in trouble. He's 36 years old. Not unlike, Cousins, who is 35. So we've got a little gray beards here, as they say in NFL. Injury obviously is a danger here for him as well. But if he's on, he can sling it with the best of them. Probably one of our last guys here that will probably hit 4,000. There could be a couple to make a run at it, but I think this is it. This is where it drops off at, and you're not going to see probably the others get that unless somebody just really puts it together. So I like Stafford. Let's move that. Let's come down here and let's look at these extras I have. I didn't rank them, and they could move up into the top 21. I said top 20. I did add the 20 because I really just wanted to give them some extra spot. Someone that's sitting there ready to move in the top 20, which will be Stafford. And I think he can do that. I think Mayfield falls down, and I think Stafford comes up. But here are some interesting things. Now, some of them more than others. Rodgers, another one that's got some age on him. We know the injury issue that happened last year, first game, right at the beginning of the game. He's 40 years old. He doesn't have to carry the team, but he's got to play well. He's probably past the point that he's going to throw over 300 yards every game, although he will eclipse that at times. I wouldn't want him on my fantasy team other than not as number one, but number two, maybe number three. If he gets hot, team's playing well, yeah, absolutely, you ride him, no matter how old they are. But there's a lot of ifs there. Levis, Tennessee, injuries again. He's a warrior. He plays tough. He's got a lot of talent. This guy plays big, but he's got to stay healthy. Gino put up some nice numbers last year. Finally got him a good home there in Seattle. He's going to throw for over 3,000 for sure, I'd say, unless for some reason he gets benched. There's always that possibility too. If he plays within himself, doesn't get he can kind of blow up in the middle of a game. He lets his emotions get to him. And Levis is the same way. Rodgers that's one of the things that sets those guys apart, the Mahomes, the Rodgers. Those players, and really that's a small list. A lot of the others they end up having that bad game because they can't manage the pressure when things aren't going well as these guys are. I'd say they can't, but not as well. And then I just threw in because I didn't put in a couple of other players. Can Bryce Young really make a step up there in Carolina this year? Bo Nix in Denver. You got Minshew in Las Vegas, Russell Wilson, Pittsburgh. These have all got issues all over the board. Could somebody do good there? Drake May, New England. It'd be fun to watch. But J.J. McCarthy going to Minnesota, they do have a quarterback there, but everybody says this is the guy. They like Cousins left on the big contract, and they're super excited about this national champion J.J. McCarthy. And maybe more than AR. I don't know. I don't know. He's got a big arm. He does little things to help manage the pressure. He admits the pressure can get to him at times, so he does these rituals, as you saw, to manage that. This guy could be a really big. I mean, he kind of reminds you, I guess. I don't know. I'm not saying it exactly, but some of those are like the Pittsburgh quarterback. Oh, I can't think of his name right now, but big. He's going to be able to shake off some sacks, knock people down. But he could also, I'll say it, he could be a bust. And that's going to be the thing. So as far as fantasy, you put him on the team, just see what happens. We can carry. We have 3 that we keep for sure. You can put another one in another spot we have. I'd put him on the team just to watch and see. But you don't want too many of those guys. The idea is to win. I'm not sure that J.J. McCarthy this year is going to be that. I'm not saying he's a loser. I'm just saying, can he be that winner? Fantasy-wise, points-wise, I don't see it. Minnesota's got a lot of talent. Absolutely. And I may be wrong. I'll eat those words. If he moves into that top 15, about round 15, that'd be a great move for him the first year. And with injuries and some faltering going on, could happen. That's a lot of ifs, though. So let us know what you're thinking. This is quarterbacks. Next time we're going to look at wide receivers. Each Saturday night, we come to you at 8 p.m. and we're highlighting these different positions. We'll do receiver, then we'll do tight end, and then we'll start to look at the defensive player as defensive line, linebacker, defensive backs. That's a little harder, but there are some stars there, and kind of how we look at that and what kind of points we do. So thanks for watching. Again, we've got some sports fans out there, and if you like fantasy football, follow us along. Make sure you like and follow and share and all that stuff so you get notifications and get these programs coming up. Saturday's a good sports day, and we're getting into that time of year. I mean, here we are. It's just a stone's throw to August, and NFL camps are starting to heat up. I think KC's had 2 or 3 days already in camp, and some of the other ones have. Before you know it, there's going to be some preseason football, some scrimmages, and next thing you know, we're going to be in September. The games will be kicking off. So your fantasy draft will be coming up. That's always a fun time. Tell us how your league's set up. We don't get a lot of responses on stuff like this, but we would love to hear. We're all over the country and the world through the power of these streams and the internet. Come tell me what a dummy I am for some of the things that I said, or maybe agree with me. I've been doing it a long time. I've been a winner in the league more often than not, and so I've been able to put together pretty good teams. If Cook was here, he would say that. Hey, Cook put it together too. He was finally able to do that. He's been battling a long time. Got the old Super Bowl. Cook, we miss you tonight. Rob, miss you, and they'll be back here another day. We got a lot of program we're doing, so sometimes we solo, and this is one that I'm soloing tonight. But thanks for watching. The SFP Sports Fantasy Football Edition quarterbacks. And let's get ready for a fun season. I can't wait. When this is when it really gets good. When you start getting into this time of year, and you're seeing these camp news come in. That's when it really gets cool to see. So we appreciate you for following us and supporting us. And we're 2 guys, 3 guys, 4 guys, whatever it is, depending on who all's on. We're just having fun, and that's the fun we can have a podcast, right? We can get on and talk about those things that are important to us. And so we'll see you next time. We appreciate you and appreciate all that you do, and send us some email, message us on the sites. We're on all the streams: YouTube, Facebook. X is really growing for us. Rumble, Steady. We're starting to get out there on Truth and Getter, and a little bit on TikTok, and Telegram, very small, but we keep all of our programs there. If you get behind on one, you just go there. It's a one-stop shop. It's just the programs, nothing else, just the videos. So no pictures or nothing. So that's kind of neat to have. And we even throw one or two here and there at Instagram. But we're having fun with it, and we hope that you'll have fun as well. But we'll see you next time, and have a great night.
Well, once again, it's time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show.